The Grand Council chamber fell silent as Queen Zathera's crystalline form pulsed with an angry violet hue. Her forearms gestured dramatically toward the assembled representatives of 47 species, each delegation seated in their environmental pods according to their atmospheric requirements. Someone in this chamber, her voice resonated through the translation matrix, is the father of my child, and they will claim responsibility. Now. Ambassador Marcus Chen felt his heart hammering against his ribs. The human delegation pod suddenly felt suffocatingly small despite its generous proportions. His aide, Jennifer Park, grabbed his arm with trembling fingers. "Sir, you can't," she whispered urgently. "Think about Earth. Think about the political ramifications." Marcus had already thought about it. He'd thought about nothing else for 3 weeks, ever since Zathera had announced her pregnancy to the Galactic Assembly. The Zanari were a matriarchal species whose queens chose mates based on genetic compatibility, determined through pheromone exchange during diplomatic functions. No physical contact necessary, just proximity. And Marcus had been very, very close to Zathera during the Treaty of New Horizons negotiations 6 months ago. The problem was that human-alien reproduction was supposed to be impossible. Every xenobiologist in the galaxy agreed on this fundamental truth. Their genetic structures were simply too different, and yet, Zathera's medical scans showed hybrid DNA markers that the Galactic Science Directorate couldn't explain. "If the father does not come forward," Zathera continued, her voice carrying the weight of barely controlled fury, "I will assume this assembly endorses the abandonment of royal offspring. The Zanari Collective will have no choice but to withdraw from the Galactic Accord and terminate all trade agreements." Panic rippled through the chamber. The Zanari controlled 70% of the galaxy's medical technology. Their withdrawal would be catastrophic. Ambassador Jix of the Krell Dominion stood, his scales rattling nervously. "Your Majesty, surely genetic testing can identify." "My child's hybrid nature interferes with standard genetic markers," Zathera interrupted. "The father knows who he is. I felt our connection. It was profound." Her crystalline surface flickered with colors Marcus had learned to interpret as vulnerability. "I merely ask that he honor what we created." Marcus closed his eyes. Jennifer's grip tightened. "Sir, Earth just achieved full council membership. If you claim paternity of an alien child, the isolationist factions back home will use this to pull us out of galactic politics entirely. Everything you've worked for will mean nothing if I let fear dictate my choices," Marcus finished quietly. He thought about his daughter back on Earth, Emily, who'd written him a message last week about her biology project on extremophil bacteria. She'd been so excited about the possibility of life in impossible conditions. "Dad," she'd written, "maybe impossible just means we haven't understood it yet." Marcus had spent 30 years in diplomatic service learning that lesson. Humans had been told atmospheric re-entry was impossible until they did it. Faster-than-light travel was impossible until they cracked it with sheer stubbornness and creative thinking. Peace between the Centauri colonies and the Outer Rim settlements was impossible until Marcus had mediated a solution everyone said wouldn't work. Impossible just meant difficult. And difficult was what humans did best. He stood up, the chamber's attention immediately fixed on the human delegation pod. Jennifer made a small, desperate sound beside him. "Your Majesty," Marcus said, his voice steady despite his thundering pulse, "I believe I'm the one you're looking for." The silence that followed was absolute. 47 species collectively held their breath. Zathera's crystalline form shimmered through a spectrum of colors, surprise, confusion, then a soft pink that Marcus had learned meant hope. "Ambassador Chen?" "During the treaty negotiations, we worked closely together for 6 weeks. We spent long hours in the observation lounge discussing our respective cultures." Marcus stepped forward to the edge of the pod's force field. "You told me about Zanari bonding practices. I told you about human concepts of partnership and family. We shared stories, philosophies, and yes, we shared space close enough for your pheromone recognition to occur." "You knew?" Zathera's voice was barely a whisper through the translation matrix. "All this time you knew?" "I suspected. Human biology has a tendency to surprise everyone, including us. We're adaptable to the point of absurdity. It's our defining trait." He smiled slightly. "I had medical testing done privately. The results were inconclusive enough to be convincing. Ambassador Talorna of the Wisdom Collective, a species that had observed galactic politics for 12 millennia, rose slowly. Ambassador Chen, do you understand what you're claiming? Cross-species reproduction with a Zanari queen means your child will be heir to, not just the Zanari Collective, but will have unprecedented legal status in galactic law. You're binding Earth to the Zanari through bloodline. I understand perfectly, Marcus replied. I'm also claiming something else. I'm claiming that this child, our child, represents something new. Not human, not Zanari, but both. A bridge between species that everyone said was impossible to build. He looked directly at Zathara. Your Majesty, I didn't come forward immediately because I wanted to be certain. Not of the biology, but of my own commitment. I'm a single father. I raised my daughter alone after my wife passed. I understand what it means to be responsible for a child, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. Zathara moved closer to her side of the chamber divide, her color shifting to a warm gold. You would truly claim this child? Help me raise an heir who belongs to two worlds? I would, Marcus said firmly, because that's what humans do. We find ways to make the impossible work. We adapt, we commit, and we don't abandon our responsibilities, even when they're complicated, scary, and completely unprecedented. Jennifer had tears streaming down her face, though Marcus noticed she was also taking furious notes, already planning the diplomatic framework this would require. The isolationists on Earth will lose their minds, she muttered. Let them, Marcus replied. Sometimes the right choice is the difficult one. And sometimes the best way to unite people is to show them what's possible when you refuse to be limited by what's supposedly impossible. Zathara's entire form blazed with brilliant light. Then come, Marcus Chen of Earth. We have much to discuss about our child's future. As Marcus prepared to leave the human pod for the first time to cross the neutral zone, he thought of Emily and her extremophile bacteria. Life found a way in the impossible places, and humans, stubborn as always, found a way to thrive there.